Hello, everyone. My name is Naomi Joy, and I wanted to say thank you to Jenny and to the corporate team for putting on such an amazing event. And it's so exciting that you're here. You're here because you want to make a difference and you really want to improve your life and change other people's life. And that's what this is all about. I want to say thank you to my incredible team and also to my upline, James, for your incredible input into my life and so many others that have been there along the journey. And I guess, my journey is the journey from rags to riches, which is what our theme is for our fun night. And, for me, my journey started probably about 3 years before I even started Manatech. And I'd had traditional businesses in the past, and then I was also in teaching. And I remember, I left my traditional businesses because they weren't really conducive to running a family. I was working really long hours. I had to have my shops open long hours. I had staffing issues. And, it was always something going on in my business. And so I went back to teaching or preschool directing. But I remember it was about probably 3 to 4 years. Actually, no, it would have been earlier than that, even maybe 7 years before I started Manatech. And it was a time that I had my little kids. I think my daughter was about 4, my son was 1, and I was taking him on his way to daycare and taking my daughter into preschool with me. And they were crying. It was a really crazy morning. It just had been crazy trying to get the kids out the door. And then I hit the Sydney traffic and I was running late. And they were crying in the car. And I just remember tears going down my eyes and thinking, there has to be a better way than this. This is not a good way for me to live. It's not the way that I want to mother. It's not the freedom that I'm looking for. And I heard, it was around that time that I started to hear about this online thing that you could probably do to make money, but I just had no concept of how that could even be done. It was sort of just starting to happen. And I really didn't know how to do that. And so I never really did anything about it, but it was always in the back of my head that maybe one day I would do something like that. And we had a lot of financial problems and, went into great debt, and the financial crash that happened just wiped us out. And we decided to move to Coast Harbour to change life. And my husband at the time, he worked down in Sydney still. So I was in a new town. I had 3 little kids. And I had my mother-in-law who was very, very sick with cancer at the time. And so I actually became her carer. And I was also doing a little bit of part-time work on the side. And it was a really, really stressful year. It was, there was a lot of struggles, and financially there was struggles, but physically I was having terrible struggles. Mentally I was drained and exhausted. And I remember, my mother-in-law passed away, and after that I felt like my health was starting to crash, because I kind of kept it together to look after her, and my health started to crash. But at the same time, also the struggles and the debt that we were in was suffocating. And I remember so many times having a trolley full of groceries and going to the checkout and going to use my card, and there'd be no money in the account, and just being horrified that I'd have to take back all the groceries. And that happened quite a bit. And, it was always that tension, like, am I even going to have money to pay for the groceries? And there was definitely no money for the extras in life. There was no money for travel. I just kind of resigned to the fact that there would be no more travel. I had loved travels from a young teenager, done a bit of travel, but I just resigned to the fact that there would be no more travel. It would just be about visiting family or maybe some camping. And, you know, that was sort of the place where I was at. And I got to the beginning of 2011 and, you know, my health was really bad. I started to look for jobs, but then I was concerned that I wouldn't even be able to hold down a job. I was thinking about businesses, but having no money to invest in a business, kind of, that didn't work either. And then I was just thinking, what could I do? What could I do? There must be something to do out there online, and that I could kind of work around my family and be there, because I was the only carer. My husband was away, and I was looking and searching and searching. I just couldn't find anything. And then one night I kind of came to the end of myself, and I was like, I have to find something now or that's it. And I came across a website, which was James's website. And then we ended up meeting for coffee, and he took me through the plan. And look, the product sounded good. The dream sounded good. There was a little bit of travel, which interests me. But then he kind of said, and this is what you would say to enroll somebody, and then you'd ask them which option best suits you. And then he told me the options for getting started, and I'd say, oh, I would choose the business builder pack. And then he said, welcome aboard, where's your credit card? And I was like, oh, I didn't realize I signed up. So I handed over my credit card, which I'm so grateful for, because if I had a moment to think about it, I would have lost that courage. And so, you know, that's a big lesson for us all. Just take those moments of courage straight away and then work out how to do it later. And so the next day I freaked out. I couldn't believe that I'd spent $750. I don't even know how there was money. It must have been that the money had only just come into the account, which meant that there was no money for other things later, but that's okay. But, you know, I couldn't believe, number one, that I'd spent that money. And then number two, that I joined a network marketing company. I couldn't believe that I had done something like that. And so, you know, the fear set in, the doubt, the excuses, the procrastination. And it was about a month later, after using the products, that my body started to work better, and my head was clearer, I had more energy. And then I learned about social entrepreneurship, which really did change things for me. I got really excited about that side of things. I wish I could say I went out and built a business, but it took me a little while to work on myself and improve myself, and that personal development that came from there. And so after about 6 months, I was at the conference, and at my first conference in 2011. And I remember, you know, walking out on stage and the lights went off, and I said, next year I will be out on stage. And, you know, still, even though I struggled financially, I always had my order in, because number one, the products were really amazing, but I knew I needed to invest into my business all of the time. And I was, where I could, I'd invest into learning, invest my time into learning, invest my time into growing. And then it was the trip to Mauritius, which really, really changed things for me. And, you know, it started to open up my world, and I started to see that all things were possible, that I could change our lives, that, you know, that travel could be something that we could do again, and that, you know, I could improve the lives of my children and give them you know, those things, and also for myself, make sure that I've got financial security. It took me about, you know, the journeys, that there's a long story there, the ups and downs of entrepreneurship. And just remember, there are a lot of ups and downs, and that's normal for any business. You're going to have ups and downs. And there were times where I went back in my business, and there were times that, you know, I felt like giving up, and I felt like I couldn't go on anymore. There were things that came against me, and gossip and all sorts of things. I had friends that, you know, made fun of me for network marketing. But I was really determined to follow that dream. The dream was everything. And I remember when I first got started, I wrote down that I want to take my kids to Disneyland, and it was about 3 years into being in the business that I got to take the kids over to Disneyland, and that was like a dream come true, because my mother was American, and so we actually used to travel to America a fair bit to visit family. And so I used to go to Disneyland a lot. And so being able to take my kids there was an amazing dream. And I remember doing that. And then it was a couple of months later that I pulled out where I first wrote down my dreams when I got started. And that was one of them. And so I started to realize that you can achieve those dreams. Those dreams are possible. And then it was 4 years into that, it's building the business, well, properly building the business, that I became a presidential director. And I remember that first check, like, I couldn't believe that kind of money, that I was earning that kind of money. And I had been in traditional business before. I'd had pretty good jobs before as well. But that kind of money, it was so amazing and made the biggest difference. And we were able to actually renovate the kids' bathroom, which was causing a lot of fights and stuff. And so that was a big driver for me. And then just having that extra money, which took a lot of the pressure off, and those things, those little things that you didn't used to buy, like I could go out and buy some clothes and buy things and buy things for the kids and enjoy that extra lifestyle. And so, leading up to these days, and it still blows me away every time I get my Manatech check, and what I've been able to do with it, and the money that I've actually got in the bank now. Not that that's always the be and end all, but it means that there's financial security there now. I'm looking at buying quite a luxury car coming up. I'm looking at investing in different things. And so from where I came from, that person that was worried to even buy $20 worth of groceries, to having that income and having that financial security, and knowing that the future is good, and knowing that dreams are possible and that you can achieve. If you believe, if you connect with that dream, and if you then take that inspired action, because it's one thing to believe and to have the dreams, but it's another thing to really take that inspired action and to move forward in faith and in courage, and keep going towards that goal and keep going towards those dreams, because they're worth it. That everything that you have in your heart is there for a reason, that's been planted by God or whoever, the universe, whatever you want to call it. They're there for a reason. And it means if they're there, that you have within you the capacity to fulfill those. So you just got to dig in, and you got to push through some of that other stuff, the mindset that tends to hold you back, and just move forward in that belief that it is possible, and that at any moment you can choose that this is not how my story will end. I can achieve whatever's in my heart. I can achieve those dreams in my heart. And so I want to encourage you today, if you're not where you want to be, forget the past, forget it. Look forward to the future. Look forward to those dreams and those goals, and think about, well, what can I do today that will get me to where I want to be? And you can change everything. You can decide right now. All it takes is that decision right now that I'm going to change my life. If this is the trajectory of my life now, I'm going to turn it. I'm going to turn it to another way. And you can decide that right now, and then take that inspired action towards your dreams, towards your goals. And I hope that you do. I hope that you take that action. I hope that you build those dreams. I hope that you dream bigger than you ever could have imagined, and greater, that those dreams become bigger than what you even think is possible, because it is possible. And so I hope that you will take this today, and I hope that there's something that puts a little spark inside of you, and just keep that spark going, and move forward towards your dreams. Thank you so much for having me on. I am so grateful for Manatech and all it's brought to my life. And I'm grateful for all of you, whether it's been a good experience or not so good. Everything is a lesson, and it's brought me to where I am today. And, you know, whatever experiences that we've had, even if we've lost friends, even if people made fun of us, whatever that experience has been, it's never a bad experience. It's just an experience, and it's brought you here to where you are today. If you've had failures, if you've had setbacks, if things have gone wrong, that's okay. It's part of the learning experience, and it's part of the growth that happens inside of you. Stop trying to fight the struggle. Stop trying to fight those experiences, because they're all part of your journey, and they're leading you on to great things. So have a wonderful conference and a wonderful night. And thank you so much for having me on. Good night.